Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Left Face. My name is Adam Gillard. I'm your co-host along with Dick Wilkinson. How you doing, Dick?
I'm doing great.
This week we are recording off schedule. We had a busy week following the empty chair town hall that we had, and there's a whole bunch of things. So this week we're going to hit just a potpourri, as you like to call it. Just a bunch of topics. But one of the things that I just find so bizarro right now in the world that we're living is the shift in some of our Congress people. Marjorie Taylor Greene is who I'm thinking of here. Her shift from going to full blown just obnoxious MAGA, like her fur coat, yelling at Biden, calling him a liar during the debates or the.
I'm surprised she didn't get it like tattooed under her eye backwards so she'd see it in the mirror every morning.
It's just who she is. It's who she is, literally, and that's who elected her too. Like all those folks that the area that she's in is so dark red, and she has learned that. And what sucks is I still think she hasn't learned that how much the president lies, but the president has lied about her, and she says that's enough. And now she's resigning from Congress. A couple days after she qualifies for her, pension, for serving so many terms, so many Congresses. So
I'm not mad at her for that. That's procedural,
I mean, she's going to go on to get millions of dollars other places.
Sure.
For somebody that wants to talk about small government and shrink the government to hang out just so that you can get another paycheck from the government, it'd be a part of the problem that you want to take it down. But like, I don't know, it's just hypocritical on like a level that
if we start judging our politicians around hypocrisy, we're not going to have anybody left. All right,
Adam. Man, I just read a great quote from
let technicalities be technicalities.
Harry S. Truman. He said, if you show me a politician that gets rich being a politician, I'll show you a crook.
Mm-hmm.
And
for sure,
so many of our politicians are rich because they're politicians.
Yes. I'm ready to write a book, and I'm not even in office. I'm like, as soon as I am, then the book's coming out. Just add a chapter for whatever time frame it is. Then get it on the shelf. Don't you see how people do that? As soon as they say they're running for office, like 2 weeks later they have a book out, or like a month later. Everybody that runs for president puts a book on the shelf. Everybody does. It's like part of the marketing blitz.
The pre-memoir type thing. It's good to get people's opinions and things like that, but you can tell a lot of the folks that are writing these books, their publishers are just buying the books, and so they're getting up, boosted artificially. They're driving the interest.
Cyclical, you're saying?
Well, they're driving artificial interest in all these candidates.
Sure.
Just because they have the money to do it.
That's one of the departments of the marketing firm. That's what I'm saying, right?
It's disgusting.
If you hire the right, campaign manager, you should have that. So, anyways, Marjorie Taylor Greene, MAGA Taylor Greene, you could call her, right? The thing that I heard her say that she said she apologized for the toxic politics. As I usually say, let's clap where clapping is due. On that one, I'm gonna have to say I don't necessarily believe like that's the most sincere statement. I feel like she is wanting to go out literally gracefully, right? And I saw a lot of people online talking about her running for governor of Georgia.
I did hear that.
And so that, any money, which she's probably been a very lucrative as far as being a congresswoman and not a whole, she's got 3 terms or whatever. Right. So, she's probably made a lot of money because she's been in the headlines a lot. She's basically the AOC as far as earning potential on the Republican side, right? She gets those headlines, and that gets you ching, right? And again, being in Trump's back pocket all those years has definitely gotten her money built up. So she's ready she can run for something else.
She's probably got a ton of PAC money waiting to feed her.
So she's filling up the B-roll right now of her saying nice things. So when they run those campaign ads in a year or two, whenever she's on to that next thing, and she'll have some, stop the toxic politics. They'll have her saying that. You know.
If she apologizes to David Hogue, he was the Parkland kid that she would just harass. While he was trying to talk about,
he was briefly the deputy chair of the Democratic Party.
But
very brief. couple months.
But while she was screaming at him, he was like a kid in high school suffering through a tragedy.
Yeah.
And she was screaming at him. And now she's like, let's give her a toxic politics.
Because that's Alec Jones, right? That was her. That was their crossover hits, right? There. They used to sing together. Yeah. So, well, on to the next topic. Let's see. I want to say I was in Virginia this week, and I saw some National Guard troops that were walking around, or they could have been reservists. I saw two guys. They were just out on, I'll say, patrol, middle of the day on Wednesday. And I was right down by the Tidal Basin area and the Washington Monument. And so I walked over and talked to them and said, what's going on, guys? And wanted to be a friendly, face in the crowd, I guess. And asked them how long they had been there. They said they were there on 3 to 4 month orders, and they'd been there for 3 months, so they were probably about to go home.
Okay.
And they weren't carrying weapons. They had, not really. They had load bearing vests on, but not body armor. Okay. And they were just walking around, you know. They weren't cleaning anything up. But I'm sure, I guess everything had already been cleaned up already.
Right. Yeah. They've been there for 3 months.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah, my problem is
told them I was happy to see them.
When we normalize their presence in the communities, that just further militarizes our community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just normally, because now if an order comes down and they have to do something and you see them doing something that, when you first saw them would have scared you.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're like, oh, well, I saw them save a kitten last week. They're not bad people.
Right.
Meanwhile, they're helping take people off the streets.
Could be. Yeah.
So it's that slow roll. It's not even a slow roll at this point. I think we've jumped
it's pretty aggressive.
We've jumped into some pretty fascist territory here. Pretty quickly.
I completely agree.
Every day we're seeing more videos of people getting aggressive. And, I saw somebody getting kidnapped the other day and getting injected by the police officers. The police officers were engaging with the suspect, arresting him for ICE. Somebody came up and gave him an injection to calm him down. So, it's just...
There was a story that I saw, so I told those troops thanks, and that's just the end of that story. That was all. I just said, hey, thanks, guys.
And that's what sucks. On an individual level. It's like, these guys are just out there doing their job, and they're trying to be good for their community.
Yeah. So I'll give it. We'll go into a little history. It was prior to my deployment to Afghanistan. I was training with this group. There was about 10 or 12 of us, and we went on a few different places to go training. And we were in Atlanta, I think, and we were on the airport shuttle thing that's there in Atlanta, right? And the train thing that's there.
Yeah.
And we were all in uniform, right? Because we had to travel in uniform to go in and out of Fort Benning and do this thing. It was this Army rules for that training site, right?
Okay.
And so the people on the train, of course, most people are like, oh, hey, thanks for your service, you know. But if there's this guy decided, this was, I can't remember if President Obama was in office, so maybe it was his second term, but, and he said, you guys going to war, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. He's happy for us. And he's like, too bad you guys got to work for that president. He's like, why won't Obama just show us his birth certificate? I don't think he's really the president. And we're just all in uniform standing there staring at each other like, what does this dude want us to say, right?
Yeah.
Like, he should know that whether we had an opinion about it or not, we're not able to share it.
Yeah.
We can't even remark anything to this. We basically have to pretend like we didn't hear anything he just said.
Yeah.
And he just was like, he didn't give up, he just wanted to recruit some support,
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure I wasn't that guy, so as many times as those guys had to hear something like that in the 3-4 months that they're walking around in DC, I wanted to be the guy that just said, good on you, go Army, hope you get home safe. Hope your families are doing well.
I've definitely had that before too during Obama's terms, where standing in Safeway just trying to get home to the family with some milk, and somebody wants to
bone to pick.
Just how Obama was weaponizing the IRS. Okay, cool.
Yeah, what do you want us to do about that? Yeah. I agree. Yeah, well. I guess let's have that lead us into our first topic of substance then, which is the military and legal and illegal orders, right? And we've gotten pretty good on the show at taking a little bit of a leap into the future And a couple of months back, Adam and I talked about the concept of illegal orders. And when the generals were going to meet, it was not that we felt like people were going to go up there and give you like some, rip off the fascist flag or something like that, and be like, hail allegiance. But this is the room of people that can determine what are legal and illegal orders. They're the ones that are the genesis of that thinking, right? And that was a couple months ago. And so here we are, and I guess maybe some of those folks listen to our show. I'd like to think that maybe Jason Crow listens to our show. We talk about him, right? And so we inspired this movement, right? I doubt it. But, it's not impossible, right?
Put the thought into the universe.
Yeah, we did. And so this week there was quite a bit of headlines that some lawmakers released a video. So Adam, tell us what you saw about that, and I guess you saw news even as of today.
Yeah, so the lawmakers, it was a handful, senators, representatives, CIA agents, just all coming out and just reminding people of their oath to the Constitution. I think something that everybody needs to listen to on repeat is General Miley's retirement address. Have you heard that?
I've heard some clips, but I haven't heard all of it.
Maybe great speech. But, this video kind of revolved around that concept also, that we don't swear an oath, to a person and allegiance to a person. It's to the Constitution. And when we have law or orders coming down that blatantly go against the Constitution, it's our duty to not follow those, because we're swearing an oath to the Constitution, not to the Justice Department or the executive branch. It's to the Constitution. And when you have the Constitution that's set up with those three legs, and two of those legs get swiped out, like you can't ignore those other parts of the Constitution.
It puts the risk at a higher level, right? Being aware of what is the requirement of your oath, right?
Yeah. So so the video was just folks saying that, like, protect yourself, do what's right, be ethical in your decision making, all those things that we're taught and we're trained in the military to do. And that made the president irate. He called them seditious traitors, saying that they deserve the death penalty. Initially, I think he did walk that back a little bit.
So it was, he retruthed something, which is why he didn't use the words. He got to use somebody else's words, right? Which is what he likes to do, right? Yeah. And it was somebody else that just used a one-liner, and they said, treason is punishable by death, and then he wrote, seditious behavior, something, right? So,
yeah. Again, the point of communication is get a message across. He got that message across.
He did.
Like, when you're the president, just shooting off tweets like this, and there are so many off the wall things that he puts out there too, like the AI videos are just disturbing.
Sure.
But that carries so much weight for the president to call for the capture and arrest of sitting congressmen people just because of they're trying to uphold the Constitution. Really, there's no other legal standing other than this. The president had his feelings hurt. And, when somebody said no to him, and you don't do that.
Yeah.
And so even today, even after, kind of a little bit of a walk back there, even today, he still says that they should be arrested. Our lawmakers need to be arrested. And if that doesn't send everybody's shackles up, when we talk about this further fall into authoritarianism and, the MAGA world that we're getting sucked into here, it's scary, but I so much appreciate them putting out that video. Because a lot of folks need to see it.
I agree. I understood exactly what the tone of the video was. I understood what they meant.
Yeah.
I'll give you the Fox News alert. I'll tell you what I saw, because Dick was traveling this week. So what do I do when I travel? I watch Fox back and forth.
That's all that's in the airport.
No, on the airplane it's Fox, CNN, and MSNBC. And I'll tell you, man, I almost can't tolerate MSNBC. It's tripping over itself all the time.
Really,
I know what I'm going to get with Fox, and I don't know. They understand how to play the bullhorn better. NBC, I don't know, man. It's hard. It's hard to watch. But I guess because it's like wearing a T-shirt. Ironically, like that's how I watch Fox, because I want to see the the mirror and like Never Never Land in the other side of the mirror, you know? Anyways, man, that's when I learned about the video was on Fox. And they said, look at what happened. These lawmakers are telling people right now to not obey the orders of the president and not obey the orders of their commanders. They're saying actively to not do it. And so they were contorting the message just from the jump street. Absolutely. They started in the wrong place, right?
Yeah.
And then they said, okay, they're telling them not to follow these orders. So we're going to ask these people, what illegal orders have been given? What are you talking about? Even though everything was in a preemptive nature, in a forward-looking nature, these laws are already what's on the books, so you don't have to wait for someone to give an illegal order. We're just reminding you that this is what's already in place, right? And they wouldn't let it go. That was their rabid position on it, was what we have to understand is that these lawmakers must be talking about illegal orders that have already been given, and that's why they said this. And so again, contortion number 2 from already wrong mental place. Right. Then they went backwards. And so they got a guy on who is a former Navy SEAL, congressman right now. And he was like, you know, there's no illegal orders. These guys are all just doing it for clicks. Like there's a funding headline or deadline in, 2 days. And they all just wanted money. And of course, everybody's going to fundraise off of this and blah, blah, blah. Right. Yeah. And because they're veterans, they can say stuff like this and be sensational. And that's just, they're abusing their veteran, status to be sensational. Yeah. And so they found somebody who was willing to, take the opposing side. Yeah. And then they just spun it like crazy. Right. And so I watched that off and on for a couple days there, and they only talked about it in those terms. They never came around to anything that made sense. They brought some of those folks on. I think Crow may have gone on Fox, and they asked him some of those questions, and he was like, that's not what I'm talking about. I can't remember who it was, if it was Crow or not, but they just never got there, right? Yeah. And so the whole time, that's why that tone of Trump saying like, oh, it's seditious and they're terrible people makes sense to that base because they heard that they told people to just disobey orders. Right. And that right now they're basically saying, we'll back you up if you disobey orders. That's not what anybody said. Yeah. If you didn't watch the video and you only watch Fox News coverage, then sure, you could believe that. Right. But if you watch the video at all, there'd be some key words that are missing out of all of that just weren't there. Yeah, right.
But it's kind of the standard Fox playbook where you make an issue up out of the blue, and this is obviously a standing issue. But to say that
to contort
it like that and just push just such untruthful propaganda, just to twist things into your narratives, to fire people up and to drive division. Really, it's a tough place for any military member to be in already, and then to be onslaughted with misinformation.
Well, and then their family is watching this stuff, right? Yeah, right. I think as military folks, we got used to seeing both sides of news. We saw, everything out there, and the media existed in this bubble just outside of our life, right? Yeah. We understood that it was about us, but that sphere of influence was in some untangible place. But man, when your family listens to stuff all the time, and they believe that basically one commander-in-chief is going to just have you killed for no reason, and then the other commander-in-chief is going to perfectly protect you. And then they use things like this as divisive topics, and they talk about it in the terms of like, well, what's your unit like? What's it like in your culture? I don't like it, man. I'm sure, like you said, the service member is like, man, I exist outside of that. Laura Ingraham is not coming down to my commander's call to tell us how she feels about anything, right? Like, that's not how we talk about this stuff here,
So since, this week we've had these are kind of more distraction things from, the Epstein files, that's been through the voting now and things like that. Mm-hmm. Do we know what the next steps on that are? What are we waiting on for?
Well, okay,
because it's signed by the president now.
It's signed by the president, and there was 30 days for the attorney general to determine basically what is releasable under the terms of this new bill, right? And that is their time to redact or scrub anything that's not already been redacted or scrubbed within the terms of this law, and to determine if there's any ongoing investigation. And that's the loophole that everybody's got
kind of
holding their breath over, right? What determines the level of ongoing investigation? And a couple of days, like 4 days maybe, before Donald Trump did his flip-flop and said, go ahead, release everything, sign it, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
He had Pam Bondi start investigations into Democrats, right? Yeah. And like look into Bill Clinton, look into this person, look into that person, right? And that those may be active investigations that are very broad reaching.
Yeah.
And that may be the loophole that undoes some of what seems like has been won here.
Yeah.
Right. And we're about 4 days after. So we got 26 days, calendar days left before something has to get.
It's funny because the small stuff that trickled out already shows that there's a relationship there between Trump and Epstein. And I didn't realize Epstein's brother's still alive.
Yeah.
That was kind of a news flash for me. But that one tweet about, the president doing something to Bubba.
Yeah. I saw, actually, I listened to a whole long interview with Epstein's brother. He went on, one of the news shows I was watching this week and just was like, yeah, I talked to Jeffrey before he died and he told me this, this, and this, and it was crazy, man. I was like, this dude knows all the secrets, he knows everything. He's like, I talk to Jeffrey all the time, and so, whether
where has he been?
I know that's what I'm saying. Curveball. Who has been hiding this guy? Wow. Who's been paying him to hide? Right. So because he knows all the stuff between him and that biographer. We don't need the Epstein files.
Right,
if we could just give these guys a couple of hours on TV, we'll know everything. Yeah. Let Anderson Cooper sit down with these guys or something, and just let's chop it up for a minute, and then we'll just know everything,
So he actually gave a full length.
He gave a good 5-minute interview that I listened to on the news this week, and was just, they didn't get into a ton of details with him either. They were just like, oh, you're his brother, and how often did you talk to him? A few different things, and there's a lot more to be had there.
Yeah. I wonder if that's kind of part of it too. Is you can't ask this, and this.
Maybe, right.
Until
the book comes out.
Until the book comes out.
We got to wait 32 days from now. My book be dropping.
I did hear that Maxwell isn't going to be cooperating with the DOJ on their investigation
anymore. Now that things have changed, huh?
Yeah. So, but she's already
in cushy land. Yeah. Then it doesn't matter she doesn't have anything else to win.
Yeah.
The president's either going to partner or he's not. I don't think there's any other points to win at this point.
Did you read any of the special treatments that she's getting?
Oh yeah.
Where
over and over again.
Yeah,
it was all over
computers and things like that.
Setting up appointments for her.
Yeah, just insane the level of treatment that person's getting.
The prison down there said, "Oh, this is all for her safety. There was these threats, and people know where she's at, and there could be the inmates could get paid off to try and harm her. Yeah. Someone in the staff to try and harm her. So we have to do all this stuff to make sure she's safe.
If it happens, it happens.
I mean, what a weak BS.
Yeah.
Okay, prison. How? I know that it's a first-class prison, and it's a camp, and they ain't barely any fences. But
they never had to think about violence.
I'm not buying it that prisons are super duper concerned with that.
Exactly. It's so clear. She had conversations with people and then immediately got all these things.
Got all that stuff. If anything, the prison's going to get money, to build stuff, hire more people to build more stuff. Yeah, exactly. That's all that is. They're just milking the situation for some scratch, So, yeah. Good man. What a mess.
Yeah. And, kind of another mess that we wanted to talk about today for our last topic was something that came out of the Army recently and just kind of a gross abuse of power. An Army OBGYN got discovered, charged with taking videos of his patients. Hundreds of women potentially, exposed to this guy. And it's not a one-off story either. There's always these abuses of power that go on.
The thing for me with this story, Adam, is that I wanted to talk about on this show, and that will maybe unfortunately appeal, as weird as that is, or just strike a nerve, I guess, with some folks. You got the medical setting, right? So we start with that. Folks, there's already a power situation there between a doctor and a patient anyway, right? You've got the vulnerability of obstetrics, and these are generally pregnant women that are seeing this doctor. So you've got a lot of power, distortion there. Then, for all of us that have ever been in the military, that doctor is usually an officer, right? And while they don't come in the room like I'm Colonel so-and-so or I'm Captain so-and-so, like they're not swinging the rank around. Doesn't matter, right? If you're, especially if you're a junior enlisted person, like you still stand up to attention until they're like, stop, like sit down. I'm the doctor, don't worry about that, if they do that.
Right.
There's no reason to believe that everyone's bedside manner follows that protocol. I'm sure there are some folks that go, yeah, that helps me just keep a tight ship. And so, yes, I don't mind when people snap to attention or just call me sir. And like, cool, I got it. Not understanding that can lead to a double down on that power dynamic of you got the doctor-patient relationship and the officer enlisted or officer, junior officer power dynamic that like, I can't tell anybody if I think something weird's going on in this room.
Right, yeah.
This person's going to ruin my career, And so, or I'm not going to say, if I'm the service member and it's my spouse that's in there, I'm just going to be like, no, there's no way a major did that. Like, I trust that these people are respectable, right? Like that, they would be almost unbelievable. Like you might doubt it, right? And, that makes it scary, right? It makes somebody who wants to be a predator, they got like two different ways to abuse the situation, right? And that's just, you double that up and there's a lot of different ways to abuse the situation. So what happened was that he would use his phone, put it in his shirt pocket, and video the entire interaction with the patient from coming in the door to walking out, so that it didn't seem strange that his shirt was in, the phone was in his shirt pocket. Well, somebody, service member, his wife was getting an exam, and he saw the guy turn on the video, like out in the hallway, to put it in his pocket and go in. And the service member followed him into the room. Something like that went down. So he saw the setup and immediately knew what was going on and was like, nope, I know exactly what's happening. So he confronted the staff right there on the spot, went to the commander of the hospital, and there was an immediate, not a cover up, but just like, okay, there's channels that we deal through, we deal with this stuff, right? This is a complaint and, maybe a criminal complaint. And so we got to get X, Y, and Z command involved. Well, that turned into bureaucracy instead of what should be a fast-moving criminal investigation, right? Then that went up to the base commander. That turned into more bureaucracy of like, oh, well, what type is the right officer to investigate this? And, it's this gray pay grade and all this other stuff. So the people who were abused, the service member and his wife were like, no, this is unacceptable. Like, I'm not giving y'all months to figure this out. Right. So the regular police got involved and some other, a lawyer and or the like county sheriff, whoever, some other chain of law enforcement got involved and was like, okay, sounds like a crime to me. Like we have procedures too. Right. And that did it. Right. So that led to the Army has the CID is what we have. Right. And so that's our OSI as far as the Air Force. Right. And so criminal investigation got involved, seized his phone, and it was full of images and videos of all of his patients, right? And so they sent out letters to every patient and family member of a patient for the last like 10 years that he had been, serving. He had been investigated once before, and people were complaining of unnecessary medical exams. And basically the hospital that investigated him said there's no record of this activity. Well, he was just telling his patients, oh, these test results were not conclusive. You need to come in and get another exam. And then he wouldn't. And so that was how he was getting away with it for years. And then again, abusing the power that he had to say, well, nobody's going to believe you if you said anything, And that was that, a little bit of misstep from the military and this guy taking advantage of that and just driving a dump truck through it and harming hundreds of people.
Good on the service member or the husband that protected his wife there, because how many people could have seen something like that and not said something too. For somebody to get away with something for that long, there's probably a few different.
There was other people that had definitely come forward and it just immediately got shut down, right? And didn't even turn into an actual investigation. I'm sure of it.
So good on that person for actually not putting up with because I think a lot of times the military would just wait it out and you become somebody else's problem. PCS people leave, and it's just somebody else's problem. And I'm
sure that he had done exactly that before. Like, oh, right, okay, we'll see where this goes. Like he was bold and brazen in knowing that he could abuse these people. So another, unfortunate scandal that the military has to deal with involving this. And if anybody, I hope that if anybody was his victim, that they're getting the help that they need, and that those letters didn't traumatize them again, but they mailed out letters and got in touch with everybody to say there's help available. That was part of it. It wasn't just like, hey, you may have been the victim of a crime. You may have been sexually assaulted. And we're here to support you.
Yeah. Man, it's just those power dynamics that you talk about, when we get the wrong people in those positions, it's so easy to abuse it. It's just it's a tough spot to be in for the victims,
For sure. And then, you think also that like there's that medical code of conduct or ethics that other people in the clinic have to observe. But that's where that rank kicks back in. If you're the director of the family medicine clinic, that's it. You're everybody's officer, and you're writing all the evals. Like
they're not going to rock your boat.
You're very, very likely to be able to bend the rules, do weird stuff, like carrying your phone into the exam room. You go, I've been a doctor for a long time. What are you talking about?
I don't even know how to use this.
Just whatever, right? One way or the other. So that's unfortunate that those situations exist, and they're just even more ripe in the military setting. So check on your people, and don't be afraid to. Don't take no for an answer from the command or the base or the colonel at the hospital. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Actually, one other thing I just remembered also is that the government reopened, but that the deal for that expires in January.
End of January.
And there's already talk around town that it's gonna expire again. The government's shutting down in January. Have you heard anything on that in your circles?
There is a rush to do as much work as possible so that if that does happen, there's not only all the loose ends of whatever from the last shutdown need to be taken care of, but that people feel like they need to preemptively get ahead of the next shutdown and do as much work as possible in this interim. And there's time off for these holiday breaks, but I've not seen quite so much activity in the government around the holidays. This is the most folks are popping, right? Folks are popping. They're going to work and they're taking care of business. That's what I'll say. So good for them. I appreciate it. I know all the other contractors and folks that Defense Industrial Base and all the people that are as veterans out here that depend on that as how we keep the wheels moving. The shutdown had an impact, and getting those things back on track has been helpful, and I know that they're all doing their best. Their quality, they're servants just like we all were, trying to do what they can within the framework of the problems that just fall out of the sky into their laps. You know what I'm saying? So we all appreciate it. We know they're doing hard work, just like those air traffic controllers, man, that government contractor, like those contracting officers right now are putting in hours like the air traffic controllers, man.
80 hour weeks for them.
They are. Their fingers are bleeding from pushing pencils so hard.
And, just having that looming on the horizon again, it'll be interesting to see if the Democrats have any kind of plan, because you've already caved once. Why do it again?
Why go into a shutdown again is the real thing, right?
Exactly.
What do you have time to load up, right? And now that the Epstein thing is done, what drama lurks in the in the house? I don't know. We'll see. January. They'll tell us first week of January, right after it. Old MAGA Taylor Greene checks out. They'll tell us exactly what they're up to.
Well, I'm sure the person coming in behind will be just like the old school.
Now, what we'll see if they do a special election and there's a shutdown going on, will Johnson seat that person, or will he pull a Grijalva and say, "Oh, we're out of session. We can't have any of that."
We all know how that's going to happen. That's how
it'll happen.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, listening to another episode of Left Face. We'll get you next week. Thanks.